Hello everybody, this is Houston Brown with Houston Brown Photography, and just a little quick video. And of course, every time I say quick video, it never ends up being quick for me anyways. But I did this shoot a while back, and maybe this happens to you, maybe it doesn't, but you ever get something back, you got a lot going on in the shot, you try to get everything right, and don't ask me how I missed this because I'm sitting here pointing to it. It almost seems obvious, but for whatever reason, I missed it. So I have this shadow showing up on the wall. Obviously, it's some light or something coming from over here. I don't remember the house well enough. Coming through here and shining on the wall and putting this pattern on the wall. Now, that may be acceptable. If you're going to leave it there, that's fine. To me, it was distracting. It looked like I had some kind of flash or something over there, and I don't want that in there. To go in here and try to clone all this would be obviously a bit of a mess. So I'm going to show you how I would attack this problem. If you have a different way, I sure would like to hear about it. But I find this works pretty good. And I'm going to show you in another picture, just kind of a quicker way to do it in a simpler way or in a simpler situation that I did it in. Obviously, we have this plant in front. We've got this banister to worry about, etc. But let's see what we can do about it. Now, this technique is only going to work on solid walls. If there's a pattern or something, well, that's going to increase your difficulty tenfold. First thing I would do is go ahead and isolate this plant because I don't want it on the wall. I want to create my own color pattern or a vignette against this wall because we're going from this shadow down here to a little bit lighter area up in here. I'm not going to use this light area because this is obviously coming from whatever light is over here. But this lightness over here, so these are two different colors, so I want to create some kind of vignette between these two areas. Now, I don't want to bore you with how I selected the plant. You guys know how to make your selections. If you don't, you probably need to go watch some other videos on doing selections. But I went ahead and stored these selections, so I'm just going to go up here and load the selection. I called it plant, and I'm going to say OK. And what I'm going to do is copy this to its own layer. So I'm just going to hit Command J to copy that to its own layer. So you can see if I just turn this layer off, this is what I've copied. And you can see it's transparent all behind the plant. So let's turn this layer back on. So now I can create a new layer in between. And just real quick to show you, if I paint black here, you can see that everything is behind the plant. Okay. So let's get rid of that. So anything I paint on this layer is going to be behind the plant. So the first thing I want to do is because I want to create a vignette, I'm going to use my gradient tool to go here. I really need to create a selection on this white wall. So I'll go to this layer and I'm going to try to use my magic wand tool, but I'm guessing no, that is not going to work. Maybe if I put it on continuous up here. Let's try that. Maybe. Go down here. So that's not really what I want because it's going all over the place. And this, I always end up defaulting to my infamous pen tool. If you don't know how to use the pen tool, perfect situation with these kind of lines and the inability for any of the selection tools to really do a selection. And the time it takes me to select this with the pen tool, I would have probably screwed around with all the other selection tools. But before I do that, let's go to quick selection tool and see if that will do any better. Let's see, it's went over here. Let's see if I can subtract this out. Jumping over here, jumping down there. I didn't want it to go down that far. It's actually not doing too bad a job, but still not what I'm looking for. And you'll see here in a moment. Actually, that's not too bad. Let's just go with that. I don't really need this down here because I only need the selection to be behind this plant and on up. So I don't need that. I don't need this. So I'm going to go just to my selection tool and get rid of this. I don't need that. Let's fix this up here. So I'm going to subtract this selection here. Let's go over here. I usually would just use the pen tool in this case, but let's just try it with a tool that you might use. So there's that selection. I'm going to go to this layer. This is my blank layer. My transparent layer has nothing on it. This is where I'm going to put my new wall. So I'm going to go to my eyedropper tool by pressing the eye. I want to select this shadow color. So I'm going to tap there. That's going to be my foreground color. I'm going to hold down the Option key or the Alt key on the PC and go up here and select a little bit lighter color. It's going to be barely noticeable on this foreground background color. But I'm going to hit G to go to my gradient tool. Make sure you are on foreground and background. Make sure you're on the linear gradient tool and not the radial. And so I'm going to start down here because I'm going from my darkest to lightest. And I'm just going to click down here and drag this way. And you can just play with this however you want. Maybe you want less shadow and more light up here, however you want to do it. I'm going to do it like that. So the only thing I have missing now, that seems to be pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of my selection by hitting Control D. And the edge of here, I could fix this a little bit, but if I would have used the pen tool, it would have been perfect. So it's actually done a really nice job. The only thing is this little transition right down here. I don't want that. Now you could probably get away with that. Someone would probably think that's the table or something, but I'm going to put a mask on this layer. Press B for my brush tool. I'm going to paint with black. I'm going to use an opacity of 20% and a flow of 20%. And by painting black, I am getting rid of this line right here. I'm actually changing the mask, right? So we're just going to make this bleed in a little bit better so we can get rid of that harsh line. And I think, let me do a little bit right here. I got to be careful not to go too far up here. You see where that shadow again is starting to show up right here? So I'm going to switch my foreground background color and just kind of paint that back in. And we'll just leave that alone right there. The only thing I really need to do at this point, I'm going to reselect this area. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I'm going to reselect this area. We need to add some noise. Let's zoom in here. And you can see, I mean, this was a solid color, right? And you can see the noise that's in this wall. I kind of want to match it over here. So now that we have that selection and I add noise to this, it will be confined to this selection. Now, I may not have to do that because it's on a transparent layer, but it's always good practice. So let's go to Filter, Noise, Add Noise. Now I've already played with this before, and depending on the resolution of your image, you're gonna have to adjust your noise accordingly. So all I'm trying to do is I'm zoomed in here, is I'm trying to see that the noise here is about the same over here. And you can see if I lower this, let's go to 1, you can barely see it. And this is a judgment call. Let's go to 2. That looks about right. So the noise that I've just applied is a little too, as weird as this may sound, a little too sharp. So I'm going to say okay here. And then I will go up here to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, however you want to say it. And again, I'm trying to match this kind of pattern, kind of noise to this over here. And I think 0.3 does it for me. Again, it's a judgment call. So I'm going to get rid of my selection. Let's zoom back out to fit. Well, actually, let's go to 100%. There's 100%. And you can see we could fix this edge here a little bit, but that is pretty darn good. No one would know the difference there. I got rid of that shadow. Let's jump over here to this other image. Let's do one other one. This is a horrible, horrible room. I shot this house the other day. This particular room was above a garage, and it's just in kind of bad shape. So let's look a little bit closer at this wall. It's filthy. It's got stuff all over it, especially this corner here. The baseboard's horrible. So how would you fix this all up? Now, I don't want this to turn into a lesson of morality on should you or should you not leave this? Is this false advertising? But this wall could be painted, right? But if the realtor wants it, I do it. So anyways, that's for another subject. Then I have this light coming in here. This had a shade, kind of one of those bamboo shades, and it was letting this in. And that, I guess you could leave because it let people know that there's a window there. But let's just say you wanted to get rid of it. Well, I won't go into great detail on that, but let's just use that same technique. Now, I don't have anything over here, like a plant in the way or anything that I need to cut away from the wall, so this is going to be a much easier one. But the first thing I want to do is create a new layer. Then I need to make a selection of the area where I want this new color to go. Well, I'm just going to cover the entire wall. I'm going to select my rectangular marquee tool, And I'm going to start up in this corner right here. I'm holding down the shift key so I can get that corner right there. Go down to this corner. This is the way I like to select this instead of using the polygonal lasso tool. I've gotten to where I can get pretty quick at this, and it's nice and straight. And the polygonal lasso tool I always screw up on anyway. So anyways, again, we want to go to our eyedropper. We want to, you can see the vignette is kind of going from brightest over here down this wall and getting a little bit darker down here. So I'll select my darker color as my foreground color, hold down the Option key or the Alt key to select the lighter color. And you could reverse this. It doesn't matter, just so long you drag your gradient the correct way, right? So I've done that. I'm going to hit G for my gradient tool, and we're going to go from darkest to lightest, foreground to background. So here's the darkest area, here's the lightest area. I'm just going to start down here, and this is again something you can play with to get right. See, to me it's too dark down here, so I'm not going to make the gradient as big. I'm just going to go about like that. That looks a little bit better. Let's go a little bit further, something like that. If you still didn't like this, because this gradient is being spread out very linearly, and what I mean by that is, let's bring up this gradient editor. You can see here it's going from darker to lighter in a very linear way. If I click on either one of these colors, you see this midpoint, and that's where it goes. You know, this is one half of it, this is the other half. If I click on this center point and drag it, let me do it drastically, you can see how it's moving the black to that one end. Let me make this a different color just so you can see the difference. If I click and drag this, see how it's cramming that color, it's shifting, it's making the gradient not as linear, okay? So now I need to go back and find this color again. So this is the foreground color. We'll go back to the gradient tool, select this. Sometimes you got to click this to get that center point to show up, and then click and drag. And so I'm going to move it down here a little bit. Then we'll do something like that. See, now the shadow's not as, it's kind of going from this lightest and into that shadow a little bit quicker. And then you can play with that, right? It may not be quite that way. It might not be quite at that angle. You might do something like that. Whatever looks better. I think that looks okay right there. So while we still have the selection, we'll go back up here and we've got to add some noise. So we'll go to Filter, Noise, Add Noise. And you can't see it, so let's zoom in. Did it even add it? I don't even see any noise. I'm going to do that again. That's weird. Huh. Filter, Noise, Add Noise. There it is. I don't know what happened the first time. That was weird. Okay, so again, I'm going to look out here to see how it compares. It should be about the same, right? They're same camera. But I'm going to lower this to about 1.5. Maybe the ISO was different, so there's not as much noise. Maybe even go to 1. I'm going to call that good, because you got to think it looks a little sharp here, but I've got to blur it yet. So, okay. We go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. And there we go. I'm going to go to 0.2. Again, this is, wow, that makes a big difference. I like 0.3. Stay at 0.3. Deselect, go to Fit into View. And there we have a brand new painted wall. Now, this looks a little funky because it got cut off. I would go in here and probably just clone this out little by little. Let's go ahead and combine all layers, and that's Shift Command Option E, or Alt E, Shift Command Alt E. Well, I guess it's not Command, it's Shift Control Alt E on the PC. And I haven't tried this yet, so let's just give it a whirl and see what happens. I'm going to use this patch tool. I'm just going to do a little at a time, see if we can do some patchwork on the carpet here. I don't know how this is going to work out. We are doing this together. Let's get the polygonal lasso tool out. Now this is where, because I'm so close to that edge, this could end up not being very good. Let's go back to, this. See what this does. Not too bad. Now, the baseboard is going to be a little tricky, but have no fear, because this is a situation where this isn't really a pattern. I don't know what you would call it, but let's just say for the sake of argument, this is a pattern, right? We got this huge sample of baseboard over here that's in good condition as far as this area of the image is concerned. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use my polygonal lasso tool, and I'm going to click right here. Now, see, this is why I use the pen tool, because see where I clicked? I clicked in the carpet. I don't really want the carpet, although it's not the end of the world, but I don't want the carpet. So I'm going to go to the pen tool and click here. And let me tell you why I use the pen tool just real quick. If I do mess up and I click out here, I can use my arrow keys and move it exactly where I want it. It's what I love about the pen tool instead of the polygonal lasso. All right, enough of that. Click here, click up here, and I'm only clicking in the area of the good part. I don't want to go in here into the light. I'm going to go back down here. I could actually go up here, this wall, grab a little of this wall, because you see how the light is up here. So I'm going to go up a little higher, do the same thing down here, click here. I'm going to hit Command Enter to make that selection. Then I'm going to hit Command J or Control J on the PC, and I've just copied that section of the baseboard up on its own layer. See, it's up here all by itself. Hit Command Z to put it back. Now all I need to do is stretch that baseboard out across this lit area. Let's hit Command T, and I'm going to hold down my Command key or the Control key, and you'll notice, I guess you could do this, but you can't see how it's moving. You don't really want to move it like that. So if I hold down the Command key or the Control key and I put my cursor over the center part, it turns into a, I forgot what they call that arrow, but it will select this one point and will allow me to move it in any direction I want. So now I click and drag it and just put it in the area until it matches this baseboard. I might go even off the screen so I don't have to worry about that color difference. See it right there? So I'm just going to go off the screen, drag it way over, and just go like that, hit enter, and there we have a new baseboard. Of course, we have this cool backlit baseboard thing going on, but I can create a new layer. I'm going to drag this layer underneath the baseboard we just did, hit my clone stamp tool, and let's go to 100% on both flow and opacity. Let me go to about 30% opacity. I'm going to sample out here, and I'm just going to, because I'm only doing 30%, I can put this back in here. And I didn't do this. This is just the way it is. Oh, when I did that oh yeah, I did do that, didn't I? Anyways, I'm not going to go into all this. You guys could fix that. So anyways, I fixed the wall, got rid of the glare, put a new baseboard in, and we could do that same technique over here on this wall, which is even more of a mess. But I just wanted to show that to you guys. If you do run into a situation with a solid wall or even a ceiling where the light's messed up, you've got nasty shadows from the fan, this could come in real handy to help you fix that. So anyways, hope you got something out of that. I told you this was going to be a short video. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, it was helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you in the next video.